this is gonna be hype marketing for Lord of the Mysteries. I've been linked a video from 1 year ago, which is Mushoku Tensei slander. Let's switch it up a bit, huh? Getting a little bit too bored, constantly glazing Lord of Mysteries. Don't worry, we'll be back with Lord of Mysteries glazing. But there's a video called "Why I Will Never Recommend MT or Defend Rudia's Grey Rats." Oh boy, it's gonna get fucking spicy, man.
I am genuinely convinced people who defend Rudius Grey Rat from Mushoku Tensei have not read the novel.
Okay,
The
what
reason
novel?
why Rudius got kicked out of his brother's house in the web novel was way worse.
Okay, I know about this. Now, the web novel is not canon, right? I remember a lot of people always making this point that Rudy apparently planted some sort of like hidden cameras in his nephew, some sort of like Lolly's bathroom, and basically just did some diddling shit with it. But it was a draft, so it's canon, but it's draft. Web novel is a test field. And I hear a lot of people saying, "Oh my god, I can't believe Rudy did this in the web novel." But then a lot of the defenders will say, "No, bro, that's a draft." But that's actually kind of crazy though that the author still did it, right? Because like this is not fan fiction, right? Even if it is or is not canon, even if it is draft or not draft, the fact that the author still thought like, you know what, I'm gonna do this. That's crazy, bro.
It was way worse. So basically, what happened was Rudius put a secret camera in his
That's what I'm talking
niece's, who was
about.
10 years
That's
old,
what I'm talking about.
bathroom and recorded
10 years old, by the way.
her taking a bath. During his parents' funeral, instead of attending the
He was jacking off to lolicon stuff, right?
funeral like the rest of the family, what he was doing was beating to the recording of his niece.
Oh, that's what the connection was. I thought that he was just online looking at lolicon dojins or something. Oh, wait. So I know that like, hold up. Let's get some facts straight here. So the CCTV diddling was in the draft of the web novel. But what about skipping parents' funerals to beat his meat, to lolicon stuff? Is that also in the web novel, or is that in the official light novel stuff? But maybe they didn't explicitly mention that, like, listen, in the official light novel, he did skip parents' funeral, he did beat his meat, but it's not clear what the substance that he was beating his meat to. You know what I mean? It's crazy that I'm even auditing, doing this analysis right now. So like, one could think that, so he did beat his meat and skip the funeral, but was it random lolicon content online, or was it, you know, his, the 10-year-old kid, right?
When his brother...
I mean, if the draft was the diddling, and the light novel doesn't have that, then I'm sure him beating the meat was off to non-CCTV related stuff. Not like this makes it any better. But I just want to keep some facts straight regardless.
found what Rudius was doing after he returned from the funeral was what got him kicked out of the house in the first place. There's a reason why the author of Mushoku Tensei hides his face. Mushoku Tensei has some of the most yikes things I've ever seen.
Really? MT author hide? I mean, I can definitely see why an author like this would hide their face, but I think that a lot of authors, you know, also anime directors and other people working, you know, in this industry do kind of like hide their face, right? They want to be seen anonymous due to privacy issues, but like, yeah, okay.
And there is no reason to defend it whatsoever. And this is not even the worst thing that Rudius does. Like, I can make an entire series of just like...
Now, this is a tricky and nuanced position of, hey man, all these weird diddling shit that you wrote, it's unjustified. One school of thought is, well, I acknowledge and I know how disturbing this is. And a lot of people use this, and I remember this one dude has been watching my Sword Art Online playlist recently, going through every video and commenting, and constantly defending the abhorrent acts of diddling that happens in each season. And basically, the talking point, the win condition is, yes, it is disgusting, but it exists in real life. So his argument is, no matter how disturbing, weird, creepy something is, these are real things that happen in real life. Therefore, portraying it in a fictional content and then to teach a lesson that this is bad is an objectively good thing. When I read that argument, I kind of lost brain cells because I'm like, so hold up. Your logic of why the SAO author includes diddlers and grapists who clearly assault these girl characters, you think that it's actually okay and fine because these are real things that happen in real life. There is a gap in logic there that I just don't understand. No matter how true, how fucked up something is, why do you need to make a grandiose, part in it? Like, clearly it is intentional what they're doing in trying to have these crazy, scenes where, again, Rios and, the kid, Roni and TC is locked up in bed, and Rios literally jumps up, his fucking bathrobe is off, and he's doing the fucking jump like that and about to diddle the girls. There is a way to handle these mature themes that clearly do exist in real life without glorifying and honestly, maybe even self-inserting yourself into these positions. And man, I straight up think that some of these authors genuinely are that degenerate and include these diddlers and grapists in it to get off on their own fantasies. Rather than some sort of narrative that these are fucked up things that happen in real life and we're supposed to admonish it. And yeah, the bad guys get punished. But do you need to do that intentionally in every fucking season? Something about that just doesn't make sense. Hopping over to Mushoku Tensei's side, now that we've kind of covered the baseline, the foundations of what I think about these mature themes, regardless of it's existing in real life or not, does Mushoku Tensei overtly glorify these acts and constantly kind of use it in terms of fan service? I don't think so, right? I think there's a clear difference in how Mushoku Tensei handles its dark themes versus Sword Art Online, right? I don't think it does. SAO, bro, every fucking season, there is a diddler and a grapist. And also, if the only way that you can write villains is by having diddlers and grapists, it truly shows how lacking you are in your depth of writing, that this is your best antagonist you can make. And I'm not saying SAO is this case, but I'm just saying on these other shows, if the only way that you can make a bad guy is to make them into a sexual assaulter, that truly tells me your depth as a writer. I think a villain can be way more compelling if they have some sort of fucked up backstory where you can empathize with them and realize, this is how they ended up like this. And even though they're doing horrendous acts and it's not justified, I can acknowledge how if I was to be put into that position, I could see myself doing that. I think that's a fantastic antagonist in a villain. But if you're just diddling, bro, you're straight up just, what are you doing, bro? It's just this guy bad because he's creepy. Okay. What a compelling villain, man. Anyways, let's talk over to Mushoku Tensei. MT. I don't think that it is glorifying these acts. Why? Because Rudy is reminded of these faults and tries to better himself. Does he though? Hold up. Does he though? Wait. A lot of people have this take in Mushoku Tensei that Rudy actually doesn't learn from anything. A lot of people think that he's basically repeating all the sins that he's had in his past life, but now that he's this Shota who looks really good, he gets away with everything. And part of me is hold up. But I think you can make an argument for that, but there actually is growth. He every arc, there is some sort of past connection he makes. For Norton, for example, right? This is less diddly stuff though. This is reminding himself of how I used to be a shut-in that refused any help, and now I'm going to use those experiences and be there for this character who is also going through the same thing, and by doing so I can resolve this issue while at the same time having self-reflection and growth. Yeah. That's there. Does he do that? But what about the panty shrine? I can acknowledge for sure that he has growth in those things, but we're right now talking about these acts of diddling and whether or not it is glorified in MT like it's an SAO. Panty shrine, it's kind of sus behavior, right? I laugh at it. I think it's hilarious. But if we're going to objectively assess this, it's pretty perverted, right? It's kind of freaky behavior, right? I mean, it's not like he's doing some sort of really, really creepy shit. With the panties, right? What else is there? What else is there? Has he had any lessons? Like, was he told not to diddle? Right, that's the thing, right? What, has there ever been a moment where he's like, oh man, back in real life, I skipped my parents' funeral to masturbate to lolicon stuff. But now, in this new life, I'm going to reflect to those memories and better myself. There isn't really a moment like that for those kind of topics, right? Who knows, maybe in the source material in the future, maybe some of those things will be addressed. But if I think about the lessons and the growth that he's having, it's more about the emotional maturity, right? The whole like loneliness, the depression stuff, the resolve that he gets with his lack of like parents, right? How like Paul's death at the end of season 2 and how that reflects to his, parents' afterlife, and basically how he skipped that funeral, but he's kind of there for Paul now, and there's like kind of closure there. There's definitely that kind of growth.
Crimes that Rudeus does, which are just not acceptable whatsoever. When people say there's consequences to a lot of Rudeus's actions, there's like really not any consequences. There's
Consequences to Rudy's actions. Well, in Turning Point 1, Rudy straight up just fucked up. Got cocky. Provoked the wrath of Orsted. Party pretty much disbanded after that. Eris took him for a one-night stand and he got an erectile dysfunction. Isn't that a consequence? Ain't that a consequence? What about Turning Point 2? What is Turning Point 2? Oh, that is Turning Point 2. That's the Orsted stuff. Turning Point 1 is the, mana explosion. Turning Point 3 is with the letter, with the parents. What's the consequence there? That he loses his father? What did he fuck up there, though? I didn't think he did anything wrong. It's just unfortunate, ultimatum being given of stay behind or go forth, right? I don't think he really fucked up there, but he does get punished, does he not?
no learning.
Lost a limb too, but yeah, I'm talking about like anything that he did bad and then got punished for. Like his mom becoming a vegetable, losing dad, right? That I don't think there's anything Rudy did wrong there. He was put into an impossible situation and got fucked for it. If we're talking about Turning Point 2, that is because of his own hubris and arrogance that led to those decisions. Anything else? I don't know.
Learning from it, there's no redemption, none of that, and it's not.
Yeah, I think that he isn't really punished for perversion is the main point, right? Because clearly there is growth and clearly there are lessons after consequences that he must face. But none of these things has to do with his focal point of perversion, which a lot of people fixate on. And because of that, there is this unproductive conversation that will never be quelmed because one side, the haters, are just saying, diddler this, diddler that. And the other side is saying, no, there's plenty of growth and lessons, bro. What are you fucking talking about? Again, everything is from anime-only perspective. Maybe future content, something changes about that. I think that if the perversion thing got handled, like, what do you want Rudy to do, though, right? What do you want Rudy to do? Fucking become a eunuch? Would people be satisfied if Rudy was like, you know what? No harem. Harem is haram. Roxy, Sophie, I'm done with you hoes. I'm gonna go join the church and become a eunuch. Would that appease the people who are saying, this kid is so perverted, he don't get punished for anything?
Not even just Rudeus. These two, I can make an entire video on, just both of them. And it's such a shame, because if the author was not sick in the head, I would recommend this novel. Like the world building.
I would still recommend this novel. Right? Like, to me personally. And I think probably Pretentious also has the same mindset. I remember watching a Mushoku Tensei video he made, and he's like, no matter how good this anime is, because of how off-putting the main character is, I just can't fucking watch this. To me, there's so much more to this show than just Rudy, and I love the world building, the deep lore, the deep history, all these different other characters, like the 10 powers, like the gods, the kings, the emperors, the ranking, the systems. It's so deep. It's so enriching. I want to know more. Rudy is a creep. I just kind of laugh it off, and I can separate, fiction from reality, but a lot of people get very heated up over this and just it says, no, this is just bad, no.
Power system, the lore, the characters, everything is so well made and fleshed out, but
Mm.
it's all ruined by the author's sick fantasies.
You know what? This is an interesting take because usually you have people shitting on Rudy, but he is shitting on the author instead, which I think is valid. Is it not reasonable to assume that the author of Mushoku Tensei is indeed fucked in the head for having a character be so detailed in these creepy perversions? Here's a hot take. I think that SAO author outranks Mushoku Tensei's author in the creepy perversions. Just looking at the materials, right? I don't see MT glorifying all these perverted things as much as Sword Art Online, but nobody wants to talk about that. Made in Abyss author? Agree. There is something fucked about Made in Abyss that I just can't describe. No, I can't describe. Underaged gore. I think that Made in Abyss, there is something, but there's something going on in there. Anyways, all right. I think the MT author, is not like the highest power. We're power scaling. What are we doing right now? We're having a tier list, power scaling, fucking how fucked the authors are in the head. Okay. Let's read some comments. And remember, this video is from a year ago, and who knows if Light Novel Historian, still has this take, and it's actually crazy. Why I will never recommend Mushoku Tensei or defend Rudy's Great at part 2. Okay, we gotta save this to the watch later. All right, I'm gonna save this to the watch later. We will watch this later. There's a part 2 to this. Okay, from what I've seen, people aren't usually defending Rudy's in his previous life, but rather his current one. Yeah, and importantly, defending Rudy's is not necessarily the same as defending all of his actions. True, just because, you side with one person doesn't mean you have to agree with everything or denounce everything that they do. You see people bring up the controversial Aisha chapter, which I like to consider canonically accurate. I feel like this is some out-of-context spoilers, don't know. I'm going to be careful with reading some of these stuff because I feel like it's going to be dangerous. Honestly, while I agree with most of the things said to Rudy's action being absolutely vile, the no learning from it is absolutely wild. See, here's the thing. The no learning that Light Novel Historian is talking about is around perversion, right? Clearly, there is learning and growth involved. But the issue is the main point of Rudy's perversion, a lack of some sort of moral lesson or some sort of growth because he is still perverted. And that's his character. And I choose to just kind of turn a blind eye to it and not care too much about it. But if you're going to, again, have a genuine conversation, you have to acknowledge that, yes, there is growth and lessons. It's just not the type of growth and lessons that you want, right? While they definitely aren't any external consequences for Rudy's actions. A lot of horrible shit has happened. Sure. Web novel, I'm going to be careful with this stuff. Anything else? Rudy's needs a therapy sessions with Adam. Don't know who that is. Bro, it actually makes the series more natural. They aren't living in a world like ours. Okay. So your argument is this is not real world, therefore it's okay to put creepy shit in there? I just don't follow that logic. Also, yeah, he was horrendous in his past life, of course, so we shouldn't accept his actions, but also realize he's grown a lot. In terms of the isekai culture, I can agree with this logic. A lot of people are like, why are you applying, American values and cultures and norms and ethics and morals into this isekai world where you can have slaves, right? That talking point I do agree with. No one is defending early Rudius. If you said read a web novel, then you would know that it's a redemption story. A lot of people also make the claim that part 2 has light novel spoilers. Okay, all right. We can't watch part 2 of this then. A lot of people actually say that Mushoku Tensei is not a redemption story. Some people have this line of thinking of he actually doesn't learn from anything, therefore there's nothing to redeem. There's also the other thing of like he actually never made any mistakes and he's a victim, so there's nothing to redeem. I think that redemption semantics being brought up is just rage baiting. If we're going to just talk about a person who's fucked up in the past and has had lessons and grown from it, then yeah, I would describe that as a redemption. But again, it's just semantics. Altruistic fantasies, I'm in. Okay. Bro burned down the whole kitchen with this take. It's so pathetic how people use these arguments commenting on the bad attitudes that the characters do in the show to say that the show is bad. And they say it without properly contextualizing it. This is pathetic. I mean, he did contextualize it. What was the context? Rudy is creepy and bad because he put a CCTV in his 10-year-old nephew's bathroom or something, recorded it, and then did some meat beating behavior while skipping his parents' funeral. That is the context. I did not know it was that much worse. Anyways, we're kind of just getting off topic at this point. Making characters that do disgusting things doesn't make the author sick in the head, Lamau. I disagree with this take. Let's just think about it for a second. Does it not make reasonable sense that if someone was sick in the head, that they would be able to write characters committing acts of horror and just vile things? Don't you think so? Now, I think a normal person can definitely do that too. It's not like you need to be sick in the head to be able to understand. Like, you hear stories about, mass murderers and all these other serial crime and rapists, and maybe you can take quote unquote inspiration from that and create a character in that, design, rather than you being sick in the head. But I don't think that, like, this logic, I think it does hold up to me. I think there is a connection. No listening comprehension. For real, what the fuck? You talking about yourself? Bro's getting cooked. You literally said author sick in the head, Doc. Yes, he did. And he is sick in the head, and you don't understand because you don't have the listening comprehension to understand why he's sick in the head, right? He clearly made this character so fucking creepy in his past life to obviously tell a story of a person who was absolutely down bad and is just garbage person, to have this redemption story in his second life, right? But like, the whole logic of sick in the head, I think, stands true to me. He's giving his opinion, blah, blah, blah. So he can give his opinion without insulting people, no? You're being mean to me! Oh my god, anyway, we're wasting time at this point. At the end of the day, I would recommend Mushoku Tensei, but it'd be a difficult one because of the nature of the story and how people find Rudy's great at very off-putting. In fact, before I even checked out Mushoku Tensei, I remember my friends watching it and them talking about this show, shit talking Rudy. And I was like, what the hell? Why are they so mad at this character? And then I watched it and I realized, I kind of see what it is. And no matter how creepy or weird Rudy is, because of how much there is to the story beyond Rudy's, I'll keep watching it. I'm a big fan of the series. I think that Mushoku Tensei and Re:Zero are the big two of isekai for me. I used to think that Tensei was up there too, but I have dropped it from on the S tier echelon. You know why? Simply because of the fact that I am comparing animations right now, right? We're not talking about the source material. I'm talking exclusively about the anime. The way that Studio Bones and White Fox is able to handle Mushoku Tensei and Re:Zero respectively in such a well thought out and quality way, I can't really say 8-Bit Studios is doing the same thing with Tensei, especially with Season 3. Maybe in the future seasons, things will change for a drastic turn and I'll forget about what happened to Season 3. But if we're just comparing the animes or isekais, I, in good faith, Studio Bind, my bad, not Studio Bones. My bad, I misspoke there. I, in good faith, cannot place Tensei up there because of what Re:Zero Season 1 to 3 has done. What Studio Bind has done for Season 1 to 2. It's just so fucking good, bro. Like, Slime, I'm sure the story is fantastic, and if we're comparing source materials, like, it's all just top fucking tier stuff. But again, comparison I'm making right now is the animes. And if you truly think that 8-Bit Studios is on the caliber of White Fox and Studio Bind, I think you're delusional. Please go check out Light Novel Historian. Here's a link to the video. Go check it out if you want to. Maybe like it too if you want. Light Novel Historian says slime sources mid. Oh, we need to farm that controversy. See you next time.